my biggest regret is that I didn't commit to what I wanted to do fast enough. So I was afraid of losing the success that I had around, 2000, at least by 2010 or whatever. We had a fan base, and I was known for making these kinds of songs, but it's not what I wanted to do. And I would say, don't be afraid. Make those decisions faster, and don't be afraid. Do what you want to do.
Purpose in the Youth. Purpose in the Youth podcast. Welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. Today in the building, Mike Garmany, a.k.a. the Holdup.
What's happening, player?
Dude, first podcast for you.
First podcast.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
I'm taking your podcast virginity right now, bro.
Yep.
That feels great.
Oh, I'm nervous, dude. My
little nervous.
podcast virginity.
Dude, gone like that. I couldn't be more honored to have you here today, man. This is going to be a great conversation.
I'm stoked. I'm a fan. I'm a legitimate fan. So for my first podcast to be one that I'm actually a fan of.
Yeah. Cool. We're going to vibe out this Saturday afternoon. We're going to make some high quality podcasting content, and it's going to be a conversation we're going to tell our grandchildren.
All right.
So I was doing the research for this podcast, and I came across this interview, and it really it caught my attention. And I'm going to read you the quote. But you were talking about music, clearly, because that's what you are, an artist. Mm-hmm. And you said, but for me, it's painful when I write a song. Every single time, it's an uphill battle, but I'm just good at it, I guess. So I keep doing it to keep working. Why keep doing something that can be painful? What keeps you to keep actually making the music?
The payoff is worth it.
And what for you is the payoff then?
A good song. I mean, simply the first thing is that at the end of the song, I know it's a good song, a good melody, and that I'm confident in. That's the initial payoff, and then typically I think I'm pretty accurate when predicting whether a song's gonna do well or be received well by fans. So that's the next payoff is is it gonna do well with the fans?
And just reading it by that, just seeing that's the ultimate feeling is just seeing. Do you approach every song that you write with an intention of what you're gonna talk about, or is it kind of just based on the vibe, the mood? How do you go into it?
It's always different. Sometimes I'll come up with a line and a melody, and it'll have some words in there. So and I'll work off that as the concept. It'll have, because most of the time, let me just break down the process. Is usually I will come up with some kind of chords, like a synth or pianos or guitar or something like that, and then I'll just sing gibberish over it. Because to me, the most important part is the melody. So I'll just sing a gibberish melody, and as long as I got a good melody, I know I have something there.
Oh, I see.
Then most of the time, the gibberish will turn out 3 or 4 legible words or audible words.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll be able to get a concept out of that. It's almost like when you just go off the cuff and you get lost in singing the melody off the top of your head, your subconscious is able to produce a topic that's already in there,
because it's starting to get you to feel a certain type of way,
right? You get your thinking out of the way. The thinking brain is not getting in the way of the process, and so you start singing these melodies, and the emotion just comes out, and some words come out, and you're like, oh, feel that. So there'll be a topic there sometimes.
If you're about to listen to a John Mayer song, you're probably going to want to write one certain song, but then if you're listening to some Future, you might be producing a whole another type of record. So,
no doubt.
Just the production of it, the rhythm.
Right, the music will kind of put you in a headspace, and that emotion will just come out on.
Yeah, that was when you were here probably about a month ago working with Dylan out there. That was when you had left. He was like, man, I feel like I just went through boot camp, because it was a different approach for him making music, and even just watching you guys watching you specifically, it's so cool to just see somebody who's it's not even just music, but it's somebody who is so passionate about what they do, because I can just see you. You're just sitting on the chair just with a guitar and you're just vibing, man. Nothing like, it felt like, or just looking at you, looked as if the world was bliss to you, that you were just doing what you love and just vibing with it.
Because the quote that you pulled up says the exact opposite, is that like it's painful for me. Sometimes I do, like you probably witnessed something authentic, like where I was in the moment and I was like, vibing, feeling with it.
Yeah.
And when I play guitar, most of the time it's like that. Guitar and like riffs like that come easier.
Yeah.
But it is a painful process to write songs for me personally, because I'm so methodical. Yeah. And I'm so analytical.
Your biggest critic.
Yeah.
Your biggest critic.
Yeah.
What came first? Writing, playing guitar, playing piano? What was the first
guitar.
Step? Yeah.
Definitely guitar.
How old?
I was like 11 when I started playing guitar. I was a huge Blink-182 fan.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So my brother was into Blink-182, and I wasn't a fan until he started playing guitar, and I started listening to them and also picked up the guitar. He kind of gave that up and like started skateboarding, but I stuck with it and just like got more into like the punk side of things. Like Blink-182 is like pop punk, but then I got into like real punk bands, and just wanted to do that for years. And then eventually got into other genres,
but the guitar was the first step.
But the guitar
into
was
doing
the thing, yeah.
That's the California boys right there.
Yeah,
skateboarding and music. Come on
doubt.
Now. So San Jose? That's where you grew up. What's this place like for you growing up? You have an older brother, or was he younger?
Yeah, I have an older brother. 13 months older.
Okay.
I mean, San Jose itself. I'm trying to think like.
Let me just say this before you dive in. That's, to me, is the beauty of California, is that it's one state, but there, I feel like, is 7 different states within one. San Jose is different than San Fran.
I mean, the culture
LA,
varies
to
different.
San Diego. Yeah. So that's why I'm always curious when somebody's from not LA, because now I'm living here. What is San Jose like?
You drive 2 hours in any direction, and you have a whole different culture.
Whole different culture.
Right. San Jose is very like suburban. It's mostly family. And then obviously, like, the tech industry, like, it kind of blossomed there in that area, Silicon Valley.
Yep.
But as far as, like, music and, like, youthful culture, like, artistic stuff, doesn't really have an identity.
Not at all.
No, so I can't really say that the city influenced me.
No.
That I grew up in. There's definitely a lot of, like, there's, like, Bay Area hip-hop.
Yep.
And, like, that's obviously, nationally
E40,
known. Yeah, no doubt. So that, as I got older, kind of influenced me, but San Jose itself, not really much bearing on my creative identity.
If it didn't influence you creatively, how do you think it influenced you in becoming who you are?
Oh man, I don't know if it did, dude. Really like it kind of is like, I've said this, I love San Jose because I grew up there.
Yeah.
And that's like those were my formative years, but it has no identity, dude. San Jose is kind of a like that. Like, I can't put it any better.
Yeah,
than that. It just doesn't really have an identity. It's like not,
It's just not. It's the place that served the role of you growing up, but it's not necessarily.
It's just kind of a backdrop.
Yeah. What about relationship with parents? How was that growing up?
So my mom and dad split up when I was in kindergarten. I have a good relationship with both my parents.
Yeah.
I lived with my mom because she stayed in San Jose. My dad moved to Santa Cruz, which was, 40 minutes over the hill in a beach town. And I would see him every other weekend. But that was it. And I got a great relationship with both my parents. But for the most part, it was my brother and my mom and I in the house.
And the relationship with the brother, was it a typical bumping shoulders, or was it you guys were best of buds doing everything together every
real
weekend?
Close when we were little, and then kind of grew apart as we got into our like early teen years. And we're working on that now. We're like better now than we ever have been, but we weren't like super close.
It's interesting how that kind of happens, that when we grow up, because I was like that with my sister. We weren't necessarily we would just kind of bump shoulders a little bit, but I feel like as you get older, you start to maybe appreciate things more, or relationships more, and then it kind of feels like it full circles, and then you start.
Did you guys kind of not get?
That's the thing. I don't want to make it sound like we were fine growing up. We were always like fine, like a normal relationship.
You want adversarial.
But it's not like we were always open with each other too. But I just feel like there was a real bond that formed when I finally moved out and I went to college for my freshman year, and then I felt like,
okay,
this is something. There's another layer to this.
You
relationship.
saw value in that relationship,
exactly,
and then you
exactly,
want to
exactly.
I think that's where my brother and I are at. Is we both see what we lost, not trying to be close with each other, and now we're both making an effort.
That's
to
beautiful.
Repair that. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
No doubt.
So you pick up guitar around 11. You probably keep obviously running with that passion. What does high school look like for you? Are you working? Are you starting to play shows?
In high school, I was kind of a what's the word? Not a delinquent, but I was a troublemaker.
Okay, and by troublemaker, define that.
I got kicked out of a lot of classes for being funny guy. Like I like to talk and make
Michael's one of those
jokes a lot.
The funny guy.
Yeah. I think my teachers liked me, but I was just kind of I was more into having fun, and entertaining the class.
Sitting in the back of the classroom.
I was disruptive as shit, is what it was. And
I love that.
So there was that, and then I also started hanging out. I would say 8th grade, so middle school, 8th grade. I met this group of kids that I started hanging out with. One friend in particular, we became best friends, and he was smoking weed in 8th grade, and he was like, he would always tell me about it. I wasn't ready. I didn't want to try smoking weed. Most people don't smoke weed by 8th grade, is what I figured out as I got older. But I did. Eventually I caved, and I was like, all right, let's do that. So that became my crew, was like kind of not like the druggies, but that was like what our life revolved around in high school. I was hanging out for freshman and sophomore year with the people who wanted to just get fucked up. Like that was kind of my MO.
How did that influence the way you were seeing the world?
It was just distracting, like, and I don't know if this is normal or if it was unhealthy or bad. I mean, it's weird because everybody has a different frame of reference, but like I just wanted to do that. I wasn't like high school. I was like, I'm just getting through it because I have to. It was just a thing that I got to get through so that I don't fucking get grounded or whatever. Like, I just wanted to party. I just wanted to have fun and party.
You were doing that, clearly.
Yeah, and so I graduated high school fine, but I had to make up for it in my senior year, like, because junior year is when I started playing in the Holdup. Started playing as the Holdup in the Holdup. We can get to that.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was still partying, but I was like, oh, this is something I want to do that I am willing to work at. It was the first time that it was something I wanted to work at.
So what you now were realizing, I could either go out and do some dumb shit, or I could go work on this music.
Or I could do both, was my mindset. I was like, this career would allow me to do both, and I like making music, and I like to party, and they're kind of hand in hand at this point in time. So, so that was high school for me.
Yeah.
Eventually stopped hanging out with that group. That's what happened. It's funny because you're asking me these questions, and this is actually like the first time that I've really put some of these steps together. So I'm learning a little bit.
You're gonna learn a lot by the time you get out of this podcast.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, your juices are gonna be flowing.
Yeah, I like that.
Because the thing is as we were talking about before about just being present in. There's always something you got to work on. You're going to leave here today, maybe go in the studio. You're going to work on a song tomorrow. Then Monday you're going to have a meeting, and it's constantly going. But it isn't until you stop and have this type of conversation. And by the time you leave here today, I really hope that it's you driving back and you're just thinking about, holy shit, look how far I've come. Like, I've evolved, I've grown, I've done some dumb stuff. I've learned X, Y, and Z, but that's the beauty of the podcast more than anything. That what people listening here, it's the guests getting to really say out loud these things that maybe they haven't talked about in a long time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Definitely. I mean, at least in long form, like conversation that's not just casual. I mean, this is casual, but there's a purpose to it. You know?
Purpose.
Purpose. No doubt.
So paint me this picture. 2006. This is when the Holdup kind of comes together. You have around 2006, I'm guessing. But you're the vocalist, guitarist. You have another guy named Tyler Scrudy as on the guitar. You have Danny Flores on the drums, and then eventually a guy named Kyle Christensen comes. Yeah, sorry, I'm terrible at pronunciation. He comes in as the bassist. But those early years, what does it look like? Are you guys just making music in the basement?
So I'll tell you what happened.
Local shows?
There's this girl that I knew that was talking to a buddy of mine, and she went to a different high school, and she knew these guys. She knew Tyler and Danny. They went to a local high school, and they had a band. And let's rewind just a little bit,
please.
I got grounded
For what?
I got grounded for like 4 months because me and all my homies went out and got super fucked up until 3 a.m. in a parking lot, and the cops came and we had bongs and weed, and I was like 15 or 14 or 15 or something like that.
Parents were not happy.
Nah, parents came, picked us up, all of our parents at 3 a.m. 3 cop cars, like dude, it was
the whole shebang.
Hilarious, nightmare at the time. But anyway, I get grounded for 4 months. I start using my stepdad's laptop to record, like on a free program. Start making my own beats with like guitar and bass and one mic, and programming drums. And I put a couple of my songs. At this point, it's like trippy, stony, like reggae stuff. Because that's what I would come home and do. Is I got grounded for smoking weed and being out, but I would come home, no one would be home. I'd smoke weed, and then I'd make music.
You rebel.
So yeah. So I put it on MySpace.
Fire. And
shout out MySpace. And that girl heard it, knew that this band at the other high school needed a vocalist. So she called me, had them call me, blah, blah, blah. We get in touch. I go try out. They're like, you're in. So then we're a band.
Okay.
We're the Holdup.
But how did the Holdup, where does this name come from? Where does this stem from?
I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't remember.
Just kind of happened.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember.
Interesting.
The first thing I remember is talking about what it meant, explaining to people, or that's the last thing I remember, and I don't remember where it came from.
Interesting. So what did it mean then? Or what does it mean now, I guess?
I still don't fucking know.
Yeah. It's
just an identity, or just a name for people to recognize.
Do you like that it's two separate people, like you are Mike and then you have the Holdup as the music?
It's kind of the same way, like, do you know who Tame Impala is?
No, but I probably should.
I'm
not good with
You've
names.
heard his music. His name's Kevin Parker, but it's a band, Tame Impala, but he does all the stuff himself.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think of other artists that are like that. It's like either akin to that or akin to like how The Weeknd is The Weeknd, but is also Abel.
Yeah, I got you.
So I don't know.
That's its own thing.
So it's me, but it's also a separate thing.
Yeah.
What I try to do is like the Holdup is my musical identity, but if people want to talk to me in real life, it's just Mike.
Mike.
They don't need to call me the fucking Holdup because that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't.
His name is Mike.
Call him Mike. Born the Holdup. Just call me by my name.
So you guys are brewing up. You guys are
anyway,
the Holdup.
Yeah. We start making music. They have like 3 or 4 songs that like the previous guy who kind of sang for them, who was not good, kind of wrote with them, and I was like performing those. And then eventually I was like, guys, these are trash. Let's write some new songs. So immediately I started writing all the songs. And then for our first album, started producing them all myself. We go to the studio. I'm kind of like doing everything myself with the engineer. And then we start playing at the local roller rink. This dude, Clev, who was our first manager, he hears about us through a friend. He's impressed. He digs it. He wants to manage us. He likes all of my songs, but doesn't like the songs that like everybody's collabing on. So he says, I'm not going to manage you guys unless Mike makes all the music.
Wow.
So,
did he have any management previous to that? Like what made you
little bit.
What made you believe
he started getting us opportunities that we couldn't get. So everybody was like, okay, fine. And I don't know why everybody submitted to that request immediately or that demand immediately. Like I wouldn't have. I would have left the group if someone was like, "You can't participate in the creative process."
Yeah,
I'd have been like later.
Yeah,
but maybe everybody believed in me at that point. Maybe they saw that like this guy could, get us some opportunities, and they just wanted to see where that went. I don't know. Can't speak to that, but that's what happened. So pretty much immediately before the first album drops, I'm doing everything myself. Yeah. So it's me. I am the Holdup, but we're a band at that point. Yep. But nobody's doing anything creatively.
Yep.
So that's how that came about. So a lot of people still think it's a band. I mean, like 50% of people who list, like the fans, roughly, say you guys or like y'all should come play in this city.
So how does it feel when somebody comments on like an Instagram post of yours and says like you guys need to come here, need to come? Like, do you hate that it's saying you, or do you?
I don't hate it because I'm more. I care more just about the fact that I have fans and that people want to hear the music and I'm making money.
Yeah.
That's more important to me.
Yeah.
So I don't care. It used to bother me a little more.
Yeah.
But like, whatever. Doesn't matter.
It's a minor thing that
they like the music.
It does not affect whatsoever.
No, don't care.
So I'm curious. You guys look at right off the rip. If it
no,
comes
but
out,
the thing is, I don't blame anyone because I bring a band on the road.
Yeah.
And like, the lineup varies.
Yeah.
But visually, it has been a band for years, and you saw us perform, and it was a band,
and exactly. And
So,
I think at the end of the day,
I don't blame you.
No, and that's the thing is when people say, or like I just did, it's not for the wrong intention. It's just like it's just the titles, you know.
And to be honest, a lot of the time when I answer fans' questions in reference to the business or something that's going on, I say we.
See,
and I say we because it is a team effort.
Yeah.
I'm making all the music, but I have a team around me. You know what I'm saying? I have a media guy, I have a manager, I have an agent, so. And I still feel like we.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
I'm glad we
So you can say, so
from this point moving forward, if I say it, it's all good.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
So you saw, but all right. So we have the first album, Stay Gold, that drops. You ended up getting a local independent label for that release with Dub Rock. It debuts at #1 on iTunes reggae charts. Excuse me. As this debuts at #1 on iTunes, which is huge, what's going through your head? Because this is the first album.
It was exciting, but I was always very business minded. I always thought about the financials. So while everybody else was like, holy shit, we're #1 on the reggae iTunes charts, I was like, yeah, but what does that mean monetarily? You know what I'm saying? Like, how much money does that? None? Oh, it doesn't get us any more money being #1 as opposed to whatever?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool, but I don't care. Like, we can use it for my resume. You can use it for, I don't know what, like, the sheet with all your, like, I don't know, accolades that you need to send when pitching to whoever. Cool, but I was like, I was also curious as to how that happened because I didn't really get it. I was like, that seemed too easy. And I'm a very skeptical individual, so did a little deeper digging.
Yeah.
And which is kind of what I assumed, like within a couple years of getting that, because I think we got that like
then I was gonna say you got it again for your sophomore album and for I think the third album as well.
Here's the thing,
#1 on iTunes.
And I hate to out the reggae scene.
Yeah.
But if you're a reggae band and you have any fan base at all, and you drop an album,
you'll chart.
You're gonna get #1 on iTunes, and if you don't, you're doing something wrong or you're not there yet. Because the reggae scene is so small, bro, that like.
But even then, like,
gonna get to
it's just, I guess more so, this is the first album you chart #1, regardless of like you trying to deep dive and figure out how is this happening. Like, does this give you confidence that we might be onto something? Like, this could be like a true career path, because it's not like somebody puts out their first album and everyone charts. It's still like
true.
It's still you're still seeing you hit #1.
I don't remember what my state of mind was back then.
Yeah.
Super vividly. I was partying a lot.
Yeah.
And I was more thinking about, you know, it's funny. I say I was thinking about the money, but I don't think I was thinking about the money. I think I was just thinking about in terms of like just general success. But I don't know if I freaked out. Like I don't remember being like overly excited. I might have been. I might be misremembering.
Yeah. I mean, this is a long time ago. We're talking. This was 2008, dude.
Yeah, it was
almost
11 years ago, bro.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
So I can't say, man. I might have been like excited about it, but I was always skeptical.
But at the first time of the first album coming out, you guys are still just a San Jose. Like you guys are rocking around those type of shows. You're not doing any like touring at this point, but still you've built a fan base enough where you're charting. That's where you're at, though. Correct. I just want to make it just understand that you haven't done any nationwide tours. Nope. You haven't done anything. Still just.
So I suppose in that respect, and actually, let me clarify what I was trying to say before. Is that I was always in my mind, all I was ever worried about is like, am I rich and famous yet? When I was younger, I was like, am I rich yet? I wasn't thinking about like how much money are we making. I'm just thinking like I just want to be rich. So if I'm #1, cool. But I was always waiting to lose my shit for when I was rich. And like anyone who starts a business knows that's most of the time, 90% of the time, it's not just one single moment. All of a sudden you're rich. It's a slow process eventually. But that's what I mean is that like I never like freaked out and celebrated anything because in my mind I was waiting to just be rich.
Actually cut the check.
Yeah.
And this is, so it's crazy because you figure you had graduated high school at this point. You're probably 19, 20 at this point.
Well, see, I was, whatever year it was, whatever digit that was.
This was 2008 when it came out.
Then I was 18.
Oh, because you're wait.
Born in 90.
Oh, fire.
So whatever the last digit is.
Okay, that's great. That's amazing. And at this point, though, you're confident this is going to be the career path.
Yeah.
even after the first one, you're like, this is where I'm going.
Yeah, no doubt. I had no other prospects. And honestly, I didn't think about it that way. Like, yo, this is like every other road is a dead end road. I was just like, well, this is what I'm doing. I didn't even consider what else could I do. I was just like, this is what I'm doing.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
It is crazy. And it took me a long time to realize that, because growing up over the years, I see how many friends around me struggled with what their purpose is and what they want to do with their life.
Yeah.
And I underestimated how heavy that is.
Yeah.
And that I skipped that whole part of life.
100%.
Right out of high school, before even graduating high school, I knew what I was going to do. And that is like a gift that I'm even now not grateful enough for.
Yeah.
I need to practice more gratitude about that on a daily on the daily.
I mean, yeah, you're literally sitting across from somebody that really didn't still have any I kind of had a direction, but I didn't really have a direction even at 22. Like at least this is when this was born. But going into college, when I graduated high school, there was no question of was it going to college or not. I was going because it felt like that was the only next step. I didn't have a passion figured out. Really, to me it was like a no-brainer.
Right.
So it's so interesting
the easy plan in front of you.
When I'm interviewing all these different people, it's always so interesting to me to find out when did they hear it, or when did it feel like this was the passion, because some people like yourself figure it out earlier, some people figure it out later. Obviously you want to hope you figure it out the earliest possible so you could spend your whole life like doing it, but it's always so interesting to me to see when that like trigger was, and obviously for you it's at a young age. As we speed up, Confidence was the sophomore album. Then you had Still Gold. Both of those chart number 1 on reggae, which we know. Easy. But Still Gold touches number 2 on Billboard.
Think a similar concept with that.
Okay.
It might be a little bit different, but similar concept.
So even as both of these chart, how are you staying grounded? How are you still just like focusing on creating the best music that Mike can create or the Holdup can create?
To be honest, I don't know how grounded I really was. I mean, I'm pretty critical. I'm like hypercritical. Pretty critical is a huge understatement. So even then I was always like, no, I'm not good enough. So I think that's what kept me grounded. I don't think I was hyper aware when I was young of like not letting my head get too big. I was more just like, I'm not impressed with myself. And to be honest, I kind of like, I phoned it in to a certain extent all those years. I wanted to party. I wanted the quick high. You know what I'm saying? I was a huge drinker. You know, I smoked a lot of weed. I was popping pills because like I always wanted to get to the party. And I think, I don't know how to explain it without sounding a little bit egotistical, but I think that I had enough talent to kind of coast and make music that was good enough for people to, I don't know, love and freak out about, I guess, for the fans that we did have. So, this ties back somehow to the question you asked.
The years popping the pills, if you don't mind talking about it, what were you popping? What was the influence?
Painkillers, always painkillers.
What, any specific ones?
Vicodin, Percocet,
wow,
Oxy, Roxy's, methadone, whatever, dude. Whatever, like, opiate-based.
How long of a period was this?
Oh, and before that, when I was younger, I was doing, like, ecstasy and coke and, like, all that stuff. But I got all that out of the way by the time I was, like, 15 or 16. So I was kind of just, like...
So the painkillers was the
So
next
it kind of
one.
worked out in a good way, is that, like, now, like, by the time I was, like, graduated high school, I wasn't into those kinds of drugs. Problem was, I was into painkillers. I don't remember... Oh, I had a buddy who was doing them. And I was always like, nah, I'm good off that. And he was like, just try one. And one time I tried it, and I was like, this is the shit. Because it is the shit. I mean, that's why people throw their lives away on it.
Yeah.
I didn't have, like, a huge problem, but it was enough to keep me counterproductive and distract me. So that was it. I mean, there's not, like, anything, like, real dark or deep there. It was just a bad habit.
Yeah. Was it hard? What was, like, the moment of... I need to stop doing this? Was there like a certain moment in your life where you realized it? Because obviously you keep making music, you're building your success. It's not like you're somebody that's sleeping on the couch and doesn't have a job. Like, you're actually doing the thing that you want to do. Somebody from the outside might say, how can I tell him how to live his life if he's successful?
Right. And that's what was kind of I lived with my mom until I was 24. So that was part of it, is that I was making money doing music, and it was easy to justify the drug use because I was like, in my mind, I knew I was not doing what I should do. Somewhere in the back there, I was like, I do not have a growth mindset right now.
Yeah.
I am just, I'm this good, and if I keep doing this, I'll have a fan base, and it's enough to like for everyone to think that I'm pursuing a career. But I'm living at home with my mom, and so, you know, my mom's not, she's like just proud of me or whatever. She's not like, she thinks it's gonna go somewhere probably.
Did she know at the time that you were popping pills?
No, she didn't know until I quit.
Really?
Until I told her one day. Yeah. So basically, I think what happened was I had my first bout of like serious insomnia where I didn't sleep for like 4 fucking days, like not a wink. I had taken a pre-workout that is no longer on the shelves. This is when I was taking pre-workout. I don't take that shit anymore.
I went through the C4 phase, got out of that real quick.
Yeah. So it kept me up for one night, and I'm a very like anxious person. I have like borderline OCD, and if I don't sleep for a night, I just spin out the next night. I'm like, am I gonna sleep tonight? And then I keep myself up. So, but the next day, I took some oxys with a buddy, and I think that perpetuated my insomnia. Some people react like it gives them the nods and they pass out or whatever. For me, it kept me up. I don't understand the neurochemistry of what happened, but it kept me up for fucking like 4 days.
Wow.
Which was a nightmare.
Yeah.
I broke down crying on the 4th day. It was like one of the scariest, darkest moments of my life.
What are you doing for the 4 days though? Are you just sitting around?
Surviving, man. Like literally, yeah, just staying home. Because I lived with my mom. I mean, it was a household event. Yeah. My mom knew that something was going on. You know, she wasn't freaking out, but she was like trying to help me.
On the outside, you look okay, but something. No, she knows.
She knows I'm not sleeping. So on the 4th day, I think I called my dad. I think he was in Hawaii, so he was up, and it was real late. And my mom was asleep, and I broke down crying because I mean, you're up for 4 days. My emotions are. I'm literally insane. And I broke down crying, and he's like, why can't you fucking sleep? And at this point, I was overwhelmed with just guilt. I don't even know. I just started confessing to, like, everything.
Wow.
And I told him, I was like, please don't tell mom, because I have drug addiction history in my family.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to freak her out, because I knew that I wasn't going down the path of an addict. I knew I had a bad habit, but I knew I would never be addicted.
Yeah.
I was too afraid of addiction, and I didn't want to freak her out. So I was like, please don't tell mom that I fucking did. I did oxy, but like I think maybe that's what like kept me up or whatever. He tells my mom, of course, like a good parent. And she talks to me about it. Eventually, I think I just started. I got so apathetic that I was like, "Fuck." You know Louis C.K.
Yeah,
he had a show called Louis on FX.
Yep.
And I just watched it on Netflix or something like that, and opened a bottle of whiskey and just started downing it, and I was like, fuck it, I'm never gonna sleep again. That's right, I became convinced that I had this extremely rare disease where between like the ages of like 18 and 25 you never sleep again, and eventually you die.
That's a disease?
Yeah, it's a real disease.
Whoa.
I think that maybe like 5 people have had it in the history of fucking.
But you figured.
But I was like, I for sure have it. I've been up for 4 days. I'm not thinking straight. I fucking have this disease. So I start drinking whiskey and go, fuck it. I'm gonna at least enjoy my life if I'm gonna die in a few months.
Wow.
Delusional.
Yeah.
Dude, saying all this out loud is making me think like, wow, I've never told this story like publicly.
Well, I appreciate you opening up, man.
Oh yeah. No, it's
shit.
To me, it's an interesting story. I'm not like ashamed of it or scared to share it.
You should never be ashamed of it. Never be ashamed of it.
But and then I think it's like 6 a.m. My mom's getting ready for work, and I go in her room, and I'm like, I don't care anymore. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, I had some whiskey. Like, I'm fine. I'm like, whatever. If I'm gonna die, she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, lay down. So I lay down. I sleep for like 5 hours.
Wow.
Only 5 hours.
Still,
after 4 days of not sleeping.
You need it.
But I wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't have the disease. So we go to the doctor. I get some medication that I take for a couple weeks that gets me back on track. And this is the point. Wow, long fucking story long.
Yeah.
That's the point where I was like, no more drugs. I think I quit drinking for a little bit. I didn't quit drinking permanently yet at this point. But that's the point where I got like real serious about like, I need to get my shit together.
Wow.
I was like, I'm fucking moving out like this year. I told my mom. She was like, you don't have to. And I was like, no, I'm doing it now.
You want it? So why move out though? Why?
Because I was.
You wanted to get out. Did you want to get out of San Jose? Oh, okay. So this was escape.
In my mind, I was afraid if I didn't move out by 25, I might end up like
stuck there forever.
Because it's funny, we had this neighbor. We used to live at my grandparents' house in San Jose when they didn't live there. We lived there. And they had this neighbor named Mike. And he was like in his fucking 40s. and I was a little kid, and I was like, hey, why? And he lived with his parents in that house. And I was like, I'm going to be Mike.
Wow.
I'm Mike. I'm going to be Mike. So I was like, I'm fucking moving out by 25.
Wow.
So I saved up like 10 grand, moved to LA with Grant, my roommate, who has played guitar for me.
Did you grow up with him?
Yeah, we knew each other since middle school.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And was LA kind of in the back of your mind always a place you wanted to live, or was it
because of the music industry?
Yeah.
But then I came out here and stayed in my apartment for 3 years and didn't even fucking take advantage of being in LA.
I think we talked about that when you were here last, and we were just kicking it. So that first 3 years, what's happening here? What are you doing for that 3 years? Because I think what's interesting, there were like some gaps, as we'll get into in a little bit, between projects. Like Fool's Gold Part 1 was 2013, and then you had 3 years till Leaves in the Pool. That was 2016, and then another 3 years for Killing Time. So I didn't know if there was anything specific that was happening between Mike within those gaps of 3 years, or it was just...
Probably, yeah. I think I wasn't making the music I wanted to make. I was afraid of making the shift genre-wise a little bit, because I didn't want to lose the success that I had. I had gone through several managers at that point. I was going through a phase of where like, wow, the team around me is not up to par. I'm not up to par. I was really figuring my shit out. I was really getting serious for the first time. So it was taking me a while to figure out the music I wanted to make. I had fired / some band members quit, you know. I think I fired them all, if I'm being honest. And because no one wanted to come out to LA. No one was on the same page. I needed to like basically cleanse myself of the current situation. And I think that all of those things added up, and that's why it took so long to put out those several projects.
Because you were just mentally trying to figure everything else out.
Yeah,
you're not gonna be able to create. You're not gonna be able to create the music you probably want to create when you have all this other external shit happening pulling you, and mentally you're not in the right spot. But was it difficult, even like moving to LA? Maybe the band members don't want to come, but is it hard to say I'm leaving as the Holdup, even though we understand that from the beginning it was like Mike is the Holdup, he's creating, we're just helping in the process? Was that a difficult transition of like, I'm the Holdup, you guys figure it out?
Was it hard for them or for me, or just the interaction?
The conversation, I guess. Was it just
no?
Understood?
Because I was like, yeah, you guys are still the Holdup. I think at that point everyone had been fired but my first manager and my drummer. So I was like, yeah, we're all still the Holdup, but I'm moving to LA. And then eventually I realized they're not the guys. They're not the guys that are going to like help me get to the top or whatever. So those relationships ended. And those were difficult. Well, yeah, they were difficult conversations. I mean, it was heavy, you know.
Yeah,
like
of course.
it had been years.
Yeah.
Those relationships. So,
but the move to LA was necessary to get you to pretty much where you are today.
Just to get me isolated, so that I didn't have all these other like bad, confusing influences. I needed to just like figure out what I wanted to do. You know. Yeah. Irrespective to everyone else.
And moving here, was that when you started to kind of mess around from not just like this reggae genre, like maybe a little bit of hip hop?
Yeah, to be honest, I liked reggae. I always liked reggae. I still like reggae musically, but like I don't vibe with the culture, like especially not this like this whole like American, what I call white boy reggae or whatever, California culture thing. That's not. I grew up more like obsessed with hip hop culture and stuff. So I liked reggae when we first started doing it, but I grew out of it and only kept making reggae music because I felt an obligation to the fan base. So
if this is working, why am I going to move up to try something else?
Yeah, I was afraid. But I still do genuinely like some of the musicality of reggae. So that's why it's still an influence even on this most recent record. But yeah, what was the fucking question?
Just moving to California, it seems like that was moving here when you started to mess around with hip hop.
Yeah. I started to go like, you know what? I should do me. What the fuck am I doing? I should make what I want to make. Yeah. And I really didn't even stop compromising until this last album.
Wow.
Yeah. Still having even Leaves in the Pool, I was still like, this is a compromise. Wow. And I'm proud of that record, but like, yeah. I'm still in the process of like shaking old habits, you know.
I saw and I had read that Drake has been a heavy influence on who you've become as an artist. In regards to your music, there was a blog or an interview I had read. You said you feel responsible for sharing your experiences with people that can benefit from it. What else where else have you gotten the confidence to be vulnerable, to be willing to open up about certain topics or things that might be close to heart for you?
I don't know where I got that from. I will say that in a very superficial way, Drake was the first artist who made me think, oh, it's cool to talk about your fucking problems. Like, people will relate to that shit. Because prior to him, it was all ego and bravado and as much confidence as you can have. I'm unbeatable, you know what I'm saying, is like the rap mindset. But Drake was the first one who was vulnerable and people fucked with it. And then he became a superstar. So that was the first time on a superficial level I became aware of that being acceptable in pop music. Or in kind of like urban pop music. But like over time, as I went through darker periods in my life, I think what happened is actually podcasts played a huge role in that. I started listening to podcasts and I was experiencing anxiety and depression, and every time I heard someone else open up about it, I felt less alone and I felt better in a profound way. And I was like, it is okay to do this. Not only is it okay to do this, I want other people to experience this emotion. So I felt obligated over the years of listening to podcasts and feeling better because other people were going through similar things. I felt obligated to share those experiences with the fans because it just started to become extremely clear how common anxiety and depression is at any level in everybody's lives. I
think that's the beauty of the podcast, is that it's like tapping into a conversation that you feel like you're in the room, you feel like you're actually part of it, even though you weren't there for it. You know what I mean? And that's like the true beauty of it all. What was the podcast you were listening to that were kind of getting you to?
I mean, there's a lot of episodes of the Joe Rogan podcast where people would talk about that. I mean, being someone who he says he's never experienced that kind of like clinical depression, just normal depression. He's very interested and curious about it, about clinical depression. And so he's had various guests on. I can't think of, a ton off the top of my head. But there's been a lot of episodes of that podcast.
You had just mentioned something about, you wanted to share about these darkest periods of your life. Now, after that, the whole episode of San Jose with the drugs and stuff, moving to LA, has there ever been another dark period?
Oh, yeah. So I still can't really explain it. I kept drinking. I would party a lot less than I used to, but I would still get real fucked up and then have terrible hangovers, and those would spin out into like anxious days, maybe a couple days. And then one time, for some reason, the next day I woke up from a hangover and was like super anxious and was like, what if this doesn't go away? And I don't know why I had that thought. And it's very possible that I obsessed over that and created the depression, but that anxiety didn't leave me for weeks. And as it went on, I started to get more and more concerned. I mean, it was impeding my joy. Like, I couldn't enjoy life. And not only that, I was like, what is broken in my fucking brain? Where is this going? Am I going to fucking kill myself one day? Because, like, this is not sustainable. So I went home to my mom's in Northern California and stayed there for like 2 or 3 weeks. And
just
like
isolated yourself.
Got on some medication. Yeah, because like it became bad. I started not sleeping again, mixed with the depression and anxiety. It was fucking scary. And dude, the weird thing is, like, I'd never been that kind of person. I'd always been like anxious and like kind of high strung, but never like on a clinical, like scary level. And it came out of nowhere. And I still can't really explain it, but that was when I quit drinking.
Well, when this is happening, when you're drinking a lot and you're getting anxious down here before you go back, who are you surrounded by? Like, you're not just, are you drinking by yourself in your room, or
I'm drinking with friends. Yeah, so social drinking.
Are you guys always
But it
partying?
wasn't often. No, it was my birthday, I think. It was like it was shortly after my birthday, or it was my birthday weekend. I had a couple friends come down from Northern California. We all went out to a bar and drank. It was like, so I wasn't like drinking crazy all the time. I was drinking too much every time I did drink.
Just wasn't heavy liquor?
I wasn't blacking out, but yeah, everything. Beer, liquor, whatever. I think that I'm just a very sensitive individual. Psychologically, chemically, whatever it is, and that alcohol is just not for me. And I don't know, it's hard to tell, because with like mental illness, it's like the chicken or the egg. Like, did you create your own fucking problems, or is the fact that you're able to create those mental illnesses and mental illness in itself So it's like it's very convoluted. I don't understand a lot of it, but I knew that I needed to make healthier life decisions just so I could remove some variables. So I was like, okay, let's get rid of drinking and see if I do any better. You know?
So you go up, you do 2 weeks up in San Jose, you clean out,
I get on medication, some antidepressants.
And when you get back to LA, what's the mindset coming back?
I'm still like a little scared of how I feel, but I'm getting better. I'm making progress.
How is the music helping you at this point? Is it giving you? It
wasn't really helping me. The only thing was that while I was working on music, I wasn't as aware of like the bad feelings that I was experiencing, anxiety, depression, whatever it was. So it helped in that way. But as soon as I was done making music, I would feel it again. Eventually I got off the medication because I started to feel more normal, and I was like, I don't want to be on medication. Also, this medication, it was Paxil, by the way, for anyone who cares, is notorious for being difficult to get off of. Yeah. So I had to like wean off of it. I tried to get off of it on my own, and it was really hard and scary. And then I went through this nonprofit organization who helps you with like natural supplements. Yeah. Wean off of medications, and I got off of it, and I haven't been on medication for years. But
that's the one thing that always scares me, because it's like Joe talks about it on his podcast every so often, just talking about getting on a medication, and then it kind of digs you down so deep that if you try to get off of it, you have all these health things that go wrong with you. But
right, you can absolutely get addicted.
Did you, when you were going through some of the tougher times, were you trying like meditation? Were you
tried it all? That's yeah. Sorry, that's actually a good point. I tried it all. I started exercise routine. I started meditating. I started doing like this Wim Hof breathing program. I was doing, literally everything.
Was
like
it helping?
Eating super healthy. I don't know if any one thing had a direct effect. I think that just changing my lifestyle and having a routine had the most profound effect. And I still have insomnia. I'm still prone to that, but I'm just less afraid of it.
Yeah.
So I don't spin out. If I don't get a good night's sleep, it sucks. It feels dark the next day, but like I know I'll sleep again.
So is this around the time when you decide and start getting and eating healthy, clean from like that point to now? Because even when I had met you on tour, I was impressed. You had I think Dylan or somebody the day of the show was showing me like your Instagram, and you were out like running. I was like, this guy's not running 6 miles before a show, and they're like, yo, look at this. I'm like, holy shit, this kid's like about it. Like most times people think touring, you're partying, you're waking up, you're doing the show, but you were somebody that was like going hard. Then they were talking about how you had your Whole Foods ready to go. So was around this time when you decided I'm going all in on eating clean and feeding myself the right foods?
It was, and I didn't get like super crazy with it for like another year and a half or something like that, because I think I went back to eating like bread and some sugary things, which I don't eat at all now. And then I had another like bout of depression that lasted like a week. It was around the time that Anthony Bourdain committed suicide.
That wasn't long ago.
No. And this one lasted less long. It was scary. I didn't get on medication again, but it was another thing where I didn't sleep like for a few nights. That's why I quit caffeine, by the way. I don't drink coffee or eat dark chocolate or anything anymore at all, because I'm such a sensitive sleeper that I can't take any risks. Because what happens is there's kind of a pattern here. Is I get a little bit of insomnia, it spins out, I start feeling depressed, it becomes a whole thing where I'm fucking like super dark, and I'm like, am I gonna kill myself someday? I get to like that headspace, and then I gotta bring myself back.
Wow.
So that's when I really got into the running. It was the only thing that like gave me endorphins and made me feel like happy and like optimistic and like normal. Like normal happy. And I became addicted to running. So that's kind of my thing now. Like even this morning, like I got up at like 10:15, and I just went and banged out 2 miles just so I could be like relaxed for this podcast.
Wow.
And I'll go back and run like 8 more miles.
You ran 10 yesterday. I was like, this savage is getting ready for this.
Yeah, so I'm addicted to running because that's my thing. And that's the other thing that I encourage people to figure out what they need. There is no norm for the population. Like I think that I'm baseline level, my happiness is lower than most people's, and so I think I have to work a little bit extra hard to feel normal, and that's what running and exercise is for me. So some people don't need that, but some people do. So figure out what you need, man.
I think that's the toughest thing, is you have to go and try things, because that's the only way you're gonna figure out.
Right.
Because I'm a huge talker of I I love the honesty and authenticity of this last, like, since we started this podcast, because this is like where the real shit is made. This is where the real conversations are. But I think in the whole mental headspace area is so important. And I think sometimes it can come across as like, oh, they're just trying to talk about certain things and make it look good. And it's like, one, everyone, what you see on the outside is not what somebody's thinking on the inside.
Right.
So one, you can't judge somebody like a book and just think like they look happy, everything has to be good. But then two, there is no perfect formula to getting that perfect headspace, to that pure happiness.
Yeah.
What works for me might not work for you. What works for you might not work for me. And for anybody that's listening or watching, that's not going to work for you. So maybe you're not a runner. Maybe you like riding bikes. Maybe you like going to yoga classes. But you have to try a bunch of shit to see, I like this, I don't like this. And honestly, I don't think, and Joe, once again, I love that you love Rogan Podcast because I can reference
doesn't,
him.
man?
I know. But I love how he talks about working out so much. And it's like, do I actually love walking into the gym? I honestly, I don't. I literally walking into the gym every day, I go, here we go. Time to do this again.
Right.
But that feeling of walking out is like no other.
Right.
It's the result.
Completely different person.
It is same thing when I go for a run this morning. Laced up the shoes. I'm like, here we go again. But that last 10, 15 feet before I touch the driveway,
right, man,
I fucking pat myself on the back. Like, you went out there and you did it.
I don't like it. While I'm running, I'm not having fun.
No.
It hurts. It's pain. I'm not like, but it's a pain that I choose. It's a pain that I choose, and I'd rather have that than some dark, weird thing I can't even see in my brain.
Yeah.
You know, so I choose that little bit of struggle. And at the end, I feel fucking amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just a better person. I mean, this is right out of the Joe Rogan handbook, but I'm just a better person, bro.
Joe Rogan
after
handbook.
Straight up.
Aside from like the running and even like the eating clean, what else have you found to help you be the happiest or makes you feel good on a day-to-day?
Staying productive and disciplined. One thing I'm really working on, because I think my weakest quality is discipline. In terms of like, because I have some discipline, like with my eating, with my diet and exercise, I'm really disciplined. I always do that.
Yeah.
But in terms of like my career or tasks or goal setting, like that is a skill I'm working really hard at right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at it, but that keeps me really happy because the difference of my mindset between a day when I have nothing scheduled and then a day when I have everything I have to do and I'm checking things off the box is 100% different, man.
Yeah.
Like,
because you have a direction. You wake up and you know you have to do X, Y, and Z.
You can't see your future. You can't see your success without some kind of guideline. Well, some people maybe can, but I can't.
Yeah.
You know, so right now I'm spending like every other day like trying to plan my life out as far as I can.
It's important.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is the thing. I'm the same way. I have in my notes app on my phone, I have daily reminders of the do's and the don'ts that I read every day. And then I have a separate note where it's big goals and one specific. I need to sit down and actually think through more specifics to be like, I want to have a Netflix show. I want to have X, Y, Z on the podcast. Like really get precise. But I have taken that step of just putting down like financial freedom or spiritually being the happiest I can be. But that's the thing, is that when you have these measurable goals, you know exactly at least what you're working towards. And that's going to change. That's one thing I've realized. It's like, you don't have to have the picture perfect blueprint, but right now in this moment, what does Mike want? What does Bobbbaaaay want? What am I working towards? And if I change that in a week, that's fine. But at least I'm waking up and I have a direction.
And that's the thing
as to what I want.
About it is my dad would always be up my ass about write your goals down. Write goals. And I would be like, bro, I spent 3 hours writing my life plan the other day and only to throw it out like 7 days later. And I realized that's part of the process.
Yeah.
You got to keep at it because eventually those goals will get clearer and clearer defined as you throw them out and rewrite them.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite sayings, it's boring, but it's dead on, is vague goals produce vague results. I mean, if you don't get specific, you're not going to achieve specific things. If you say, I want to be rich, maybe you're going to make a lot of money, but how much money do you want? You know, you're not going to make that amount unless you figure out what that amount is. Just things like that. And so I'm a huge proponent of goal setting.
What do you use that notepad for then? The one you have on you right now?
Right now I'm still like in the process of figuring it out. I have 2 notebooks and they're both Moleskins. I guess Hemingway used them. That's what my dad always fucking says. What a boss.
Hemingway, young Hemingway in the building.
He uses Moleskin notebooks. I have one that's a weekly planner.
Gotcha.
And it's a Moleskin. It looks like this, but it's blue. And then I have this one that's just blank with lines. So this one is for like creative thinking, goal setting, drawing out a calendar and planning things roughly before I write it into my actual weekly planner. And then my planner is I can go down and see what I have to do that day.
Breaking it down.
So I have 2 different ones. This one's kind of like free form, and then the other one is what is my actual planner.
I like that. You got to have it written down. You got to know exactly what you're working towards.
And I'm figuring out, I tried to do the apps thing. I tried to be a technology guy. Like I'm going to have all my different Google apps for tasks, for notes, for calendar. And I realized that this works better for me. The physical book. I do both. I still write down my stuff in my calendar so I get reminders. On my watch and my phone.
I'm big on like hacking. Like hacking the human brain, whether it's like apps or writing things down, eating the right foods, working out. Like there's certain like positive affirmations. There are so many hacks that I when you listen to enough podcasts and interviews of people that are successful, you realize they're all doing the same shit. They all have goals. They all have, they remind themselves they're their own hype mans. There's all these things. It's like, it's not cliches. It's not like corny or cheesy.
Well,
it's
it
working.
may seem corny or cheesy, but who gives a fuck as long as it's as long as it works, man. I mean, everybody has different methods, but they're all like, I think there's a similar thing, and it's discipline and using those hacks to keep yourself disciplined. Like, I don't remember shit. So I have all these reminders, man. I have so many alarms that go off that tell me when I need to do something. I set like one thing. Like for this, I had 3 different reminders. I had one 2 days ago, I had one yesterday, and I had one this morning. And every single one says podcast with Bobby. And it tells the time. Yeah, so like I'm like that about shit because I'll just, I got to make sure I don't forget. This is your extended brain, man. You know what I'm saying?
I keep a running Google Calendar, all the things that I need to know or know about. Unfortunately, luckily, I'm very good at knowing. I just know ahead of time like what my schedule. I know there's people in this world that like, oh shit, we had a podcast. I forgot about. I'm like OCD. If something is on my calendar, I'm ready. Before 30 minutes, I'll be at the place 30 minutes early, or I'll be ready for the person here. Like, I'm big on time management.
And that's a skill in itself. I think people get overwhelmed because they do it for like a week and then they fall off. Like scheduling and planning things and setting reminders and using a calendar. But just using a planner is a skill you got to build. You might forget a whole week and then like slack off, but you got to get back to it. And eventually it's going to be part of your life.
It takes repetition. You have to keep doing it over and over and over, and then you kind of figure it out. What are you most proud of about Killing Time? Your most recent project?
That I did it all myself. I mean, Grant, my roommate, who is a amazing songwriter, co-wrote some of the stuff with me. But I engineered, mixed, mastered, wrote, recorded, produced, all of it. All the instruments, everything is me.
Wow.
And I didn't think that was a big deal. But
pat yourself on the back, dude.
But I guess
mixed, mastered, the whole shebang.
There are a couple like Russ. Russ does all that front to back.
I literally wanted to say, what are you, Russ? But I didn't know if that was going to be taken the wrong way. So
no. It's a compliment. He's successful as shit, and he's good. And And then Tame Impala, the guy I told you about, he does the same thing.
I mean, I think it's a skill if you can keep it all in house and do that.
Yeah, I save a ton of money. Being able to do it all myself.
But also, I know the money thing is always the big thing, but I'm also devil advocate of like, is it better to have more ears and eyes on something versus just you?
It depends. I'm a huge believer in hiring out people to do things that you can't do, that you're not good at.
I respect that.
I happen to be more than acceptable at these things, mixing, mastering.
You can get the job
like
done.
Production. Yeah. Like it's, I mean, I don't know. You've heard it. Like, does it sound like?
It sounds great. No,
okay.
It sounds, sounds great. But how about this?
Could be better.
If Rick Rubin called, would you let him produce?
Fuck yeah. And actually my new MO is to do more collaborations. It's to let other people produce for me and me just do some of the writing and stuff like that. So I want to collab more because also that's kind of an industry secret. Like, collaboration breeds success, man. You got to like collab with other people because that's how you meet people and make those connections. You know what I'm saying? Even if you can do it all yourself, sometimes it's not the smart move to do it all yourself.
Yeah.
And I've isolated myself for years because I can do it all myself.
Yeah.
And so now I'm trying to break out of that and
just start working with other people, see what comes of it, what relationships get built from it.
Yeah. Again, also because then you learn more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not learning from
it's like
myself.
a cheat. It's
I
honestly
know
like,
what I know.
It's like a cheat code.
Yeah.
You know you can do X, Y, and Z, but why not go and work with this person, build that relationship?
Right.
Maybe that you learn one thing, or they go, hey, let me connect you with this person. Oh, shit.
Yep.
That's somebody I've been wanting to work with. The tour, though. You guys did 17 already, and you're about to be doing 9 West Coast states.
Yep.
How do you feel about that? The first part, what do you think about the first? Also, I was in San Antonio and Houston. Yep. But then also, so what? How are the first 17, and then what are you most excited about for the next 9?
First 17 was the most fun tour I've ever been on in my life.
That's awesome.
And that's because my crew was fucking great.
Yeah.
And also because Sight Unseen had brought Dylan out on the tour.
Amazing.
And was awesome, and we got to meet you guys and got connected, and Dylan's whole crew was super fun. So it was the most fun tour I've ever been on.
Awesome.
And then these next shows I'm really excited about because it's a little bit different. So my guitar player Grant, he's not coming on this tour because he just got signed.
Damn, good for him.
Congrats to him.
Shout out to Grant.
Got a huge publishing deal as a songwriter, so he's busy as shit right now. And it's just gonna be me and a drummer. So it's smaller. It's just 2 of us on stage, but like I'm gonna be playing more guitar on the whole set and different dynamic. But I'm really excited about it.
And I would imagine too, this is where probably a lot of your core base is, the West Coast, right?
West Coast,
at least from the
definitely.
beginning. That's so it's gonna be fire, dude.
I'm really excited to see if anybody's pissed off. Like, where's the band, bro? Like, it's just you two. Like, because there's potentially that's gonna happen, but I'm ready for that.
Nah,
so
it's a challenge.
I'm gonna pick up the slack. You know, that's what I'm saying.
It's a little bit of a challenge. A little bit of a challenge. So when you finish up this tour, what do you see happening for the rest of 2019? What do you want to do?
I'm working on trying to release as many songs as possible. I'm gonna really commit to seeing if the constant singles thing is really all it's cracked up to be. So like the old school way is releasing an album every year or 2, but so many artists are blowing up, especially in the hip hop scene, by releasing a song every week, every 2 weeks, whatever. So that's my new thing.
I'm not in the music industry, but I know content.
You know content.
And let me tell you right now, that I swear to God, that's the game.
So you personally, as a fan of like some artists, would you rather hear a song every 2 weeks?
I would rather you drop me something every 2 weeks
than hear a full collection of work?
100%. Because here you go. Not to. I know we talked about pills earlier, but this is like a Gary Vee thing. He always says, give people pills of content. Give them little pieces of pills that they can just take and they can digest and then move on. If you serve them a platter, it's very overwhelming, especially in the world we live in today. It's like, I'd rather send a homie like, yo, you got to check out my homie, the Holdup. They just dropped this new record. Peep it. Oh, it's one song. Let me hit play.
Yeah, no doubt.
People psychologically are thinking about that. If I send them like,
is so
and I'm like, yo,
now,
check out this whole album. It's like, bro, I'll get to it when I get to it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think you have, as Gary Vee would say, you have more at bats by dropping every 2 to 3 weeks or whatever you can do. And I think that's the best way to approach it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure the whole album rollout thing is great too, but I think people just want it. And I think you have a bigger potential to see the true success of a song by promoting it that heavy for 2 weeks. Okay, this one didn't do all right. Let's try next week. Oh, this one did all right.
Right.
All right, let's maybe revisit this in a month if the next 2 rollouts don't do well. Oh, maybe that's the record we need to go heavy on.
Even more exciting than that to me is the challenge of having to put out a fucking song every 2 weeks. Because I do it all myself. So like I want to see how that sharpens my tools. You know what it forces, what corners it's gonna back me into.
Yeah.
You know.
And I guess the best thing would be just not make a whole statement of like, for the next 2 weeks, every 2 weeks for the next 6 months I'm dropping a record, but like just put it on you. That if you can, every 2 weeks drop it, you know? And that, perfect example, weekly.
Right.
That's my whole thing from the jump. I got to put out weekly content, and it has been pressure on my shoulders. There have been moments.
But do you feel like it's been like a hyperbolic time chamber? Like you just like...
It keeps me focused.
Yep.
Because going back to the goals... you
sharpen your tools faster.
There's no other option.
Right,
I'm learning on a weekly basis how to interview people, how to have conversations, how to dig in their stories. It's forcing me to show up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So... I think it's only going to, I mean, yeah, it's going to cause more pressure on you, but the most positive thing is it's going to give you that direction. You're not going to have these moments of like, oh, wait, what do I have going on? No, I need to produce a song. I need to get ready for this rollout. I need to shoot this music video or whatever it might be. So I think it just adds more pressure, but I think it ultimately forces you as an artist, me as a creator, to get better faster.
It's also that fail faster kind of thing.
Exactly. There's no way you're going to lose from it.
Right.
What's the one advice that you would give to the 2006 Mike?
So glad you asked that, bro, because in prep for this podcast, that was one of the things I wrote down. I was like, give my what's the advice I would give myself to my past self, my younger self.
My man was prepped for this.
And
mind you, ladies and gentlemen, I don't tell the guests any questions beforehand, so I love that you already like kind of.
Yeah, I spent a little time preparing.
I like that.
Yesterday.
I like that. That's actually better that you prepare, because sometimes the people, they don't have time to think about it, so they're just going
hard
off
on the
gut.
spot.
But
that's happened to me.
That's good.
And I wasn't able to take advantage of that moment, so I was prepared this time. And it actually ties to what we were just talking about. Is my biggest regret is that I didn't commit to what I wanted to do fast enough. So I was afraid of losing the success that I had around 2000, at least by 2010 or whatever. We had a fan base, and I was known for making these kinds of songs, but it's not what I wanted to do. And I would say, don't be afraid. Make those decisions faster, and don't be afraid. Do what you want to do. Because here I am, fucking 2006, so 13 years later.
Wow.
Finally having to do that now.
And you feel like now you're in the space, you're creating exactly what you want to create?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, still figuring it out, but I could have started that process a lot sooner.
Yeah.
I could have failed. And if it was a failure, I would have failed sooner and learned quicker. So, I let fear hold me back. And I think it's almost a cliche at this point. People always talk about that, don't let fear hold you back. But it is so real, man. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And do it fast.
Yeah. That's probably been the biggest thing for me with starting this podcast, of realizing there really is no failure. You're going to learn something along the way.
Right.
Like, there's going to be lessons learned, and my ability to not overthink anymore and create and just see how people react to it. I take that shit for granted, because I was not doing that 3 years ago.
Right.
I was trying to think through everything and make sure it all looks good.
Overthinking, man.
What are people going to think? Blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, idea, boom, execute, roll out, boom, on to the next. I just do it. Literally just do it.
Because whatever you fuck up, you're not going to fuck up the next time.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Or be afraid, but overcome the fear. Do it anyway. Whatever. It's okay to be afraid, but just don't let it hold you back.
I see you have a lot of tattoos on you. And a lot of these are from you just walking into a shop, and you don't really think about it too much. You just like, throw it on me. You're not like, which is kind of, I respect. Like, it's just like in the moment, get it. You don't overthink it, and now it's here for good.
Right.
If you had to tattoo a word on your wrist that you'd have to read every morning, or saying, what would you put?
Honestly, I hate that it's this. Because again, this doesn't evoke a visceral reaction for me, but it holds true, is probably gratitude. Because I think that gratitude is the antidote to anxiety and fear. Or at least it helps. If you're afraid or anxious, you're like in a negative headspace. And when you remember the things that you have to be grateful for, it helps,
Yeah.
And there is so much to be grateful for that I have to be grateful for, and I don't think about those things enough. I'm hypercritical, and I'm always focused on what can I do better, what are my shortcomings right now. But I have some shit to be grateful for that I'm proud of. So
you know why? Because it's too easy. It's too easy to take that moment to be thankful. That's why it's hard to do, because it's too easy to take a moment. And I'm the same way. Wrote down 3 things this morning that I'm grateful for, but there are time spans when I don't do it, and then I'm like dug down, and I'm like pissed at the world because this isn't working. I'm not making a living doing what I want to do. Blah 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 blah. When all I had to do is take that 3 minutes in the morning and maybe that 3 minutes at night to go into the day with good intention of like, wow, I woke up. Wow, my parents are alive. Wow, I have a roof over my head. And then 3 more at night. It's too easy to do, but there's so much benefit that comes from the gratitude of...
Huge perspective change.
Yes.
If you can just focus on what, like, really think about what you're grateful. Because I'll sit there and be like, dude, I am not where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I was going to be, like, driving a Bugatti by this time. When I was 20, you know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, I'm going to be... I didn't want a Bugatti, but I thought I was going to be at the equivalent. And I'm not. And sometimes that gets me down. But then I think, like, bro... I'm fucking making a full living on music. I literally don't have to do anything. I can do whatever the fuck I want every day because of music. Like, and that blows my mind. I mean, right now I'm having a perspective change because that alone, even though I'm not a millionaire or whatever, like, it's crazy. Do you know how many people would literally kill for that? And I'm sitting here like, you know, all shitty about myself.
Yeah.
And it's okay that I want more. Yeah. But the fact is I can change my perspective by being grateful for that.
Yeah.
And it all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You literally I mean, granted, you've put in the work. This didn't just happen, but the fact that you're at the point now in your life, how old? 28?
29.
29. Mm-hmm. You wake up any day of the week, you call the shots.
Right.
You create.
Yeah.
You go to the beach.
And I don't think I'll ever be appropriately grateful enough for that. I don't think that I am aware enough consistently to really show as much gratitude as I should for how crazy it is that no one can tell me what to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the practice of the gratitude, if you keep doing that. I mean, I had read that you also used to do gratitude after you would run, after you had a clear headspace. Mm-hmm. Do you still find you're doing that?
I don't do the gratitude practice like I used to, and I should. I really should, and I will get back to it because I take breaks. But for a while, I was. The problem is, like, after I run, I'm so high on the endorphins that, like, I was literally writing down. I would write 10 things. I was literally writing down
go
the wind.
Yeah.
The grass.
No, but that's
the sun, because that's how grateful I was that I was like, this shit is amazing.
It also helps that you live in California where it's the sunshine. So it's
no doubt.
When that sun is up and I'm looking around, I've been recently doing that after I would run. I did it for like the last 2 weeks. I put up every couple of days like a video. I'd get back from running. My headspace would be running wild. I'd do 1 lap around the block to just cool down. And usually at the halfway point, I'm like, my breath's calmed down and I have so much thoughts going through my mind. So I'm just like taking out my phone, talking to the camera about like shit that's going on in my head.
You're like in a flow state. I feel like amazing.
I feel like I'm on cloud 9. Yeah. But I love it because it's forcing me to say it out loud, capture it, put it out there to the world, and then I can go back and revisit it. But yeah, the running, and it just gets your mind flowing. How about this then? If you maybe you didn't do it today, what are 3 things in this very moment that you're grateful for? Let's get your 3 gratitudes right now.
I am grateful for the fact that no one can tell me what to do. That I am in control of my destiny. You know, I work for myself. Like, that's incredible. I'm grateful for amazing conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's like one of the most important things to me in life. It's extremely valuable. And always my family. Always my family, because I have an amazing relationship with so much of my family, and a lot of people don't have that. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of how grateful I am for that.
What do you think was the greatest lesson you learned from your mother?
Oh, that is difficult, man, because there is so much.
Yeah.
I mean, she is largely responsible for every good quality I have, if I have any. Compassion, man.
Yeah.
A bleeding heart. She is a bleeding heart, and it can be a pain in the ass because, like, I'll see a homeless dude and I'll just want to cry. And I'll have to like just like be like, what the hell? Why do you don't even know that person's suffering. I mean, probably, but I have that kind of compassion, and it gets out of control sometimes, but the fact is I think the world needs a lot more compassion.
100%.
And she's one of the most compassionate people. Sorry, the most compassionate person I've ever met in my life. Yeah. And I'm grateful for that lesson that she's taught me.
We'll put her in the list, on the gratitude list then.
Oh yeah. No.
What do you think Mike's purpose is?
I don't know, man. I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what purpose means. Do you know Jay Shetty?
Yeah, just literally just followed him on Instagram about 3 hours ago.
Literally just heard about him for the first time from the Impact Theory podcast, and he kind of put it eloquently. It's like from some quote that your purpose is the intersection of four things, and one is what you're good at, one is what you love to do, one is what the world needs, and the other is how do you get paid for it. I think it's a really old saying.
Yeah.
So I don't know how do you get paid for it thing, like if that's like an interpretation from what it used to mean before money.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But I guess that would be music. That's like the cheap answer. But I don't know. I'm literally still trying to figure out what purpose means.
But is it the cheap answer though?
It's what my purpose is right now, I think. But I don't even know. What's your purpose?
Flip the script real quick.
Maybe you can help me.
But
I want to know.
Yeah. I think my purpose is to be the greatest version of myself and be an example to the world based on what I do. Mm-hmm. So like podcasting, creating content, that's my lane, I think. But I think my purpose is just being so fucking authentically myself and being so confident, so humble, so just me that energy and that example gives off to other people. Would I love to impact people? Yes. To me, that's a high when I get people that DM me or they tell me how the podcast has helped them, the energy that it put out, seeing me grind in an Uber, or they're talking to me about so many things about my life that I forget I'm like putting out there to the world, and they're really like listening to every single word of these podcasts. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, that shit is dope. Yeah. You know? So I ask that question every single podcast, but I never get asked it. So now it's really like getting the engine roaring.
Right. But you can see
but I think
that's a good answer.
I think it's just because the thing is, here it is. No matter where the road takes me in this world, no matter what I do, no matter who I'm around, my purpose is to continuously be who the fuck I am.
But I would argue that maybe is everyone's purpose.
It should be.
That it should, yeah, maybe it is not their chosen purpose, but I think that everyone should do that.
Yeah.
And I think that there's maybe like a sub-definition of purpose, and it's what it manifests into physically for you.
You're right.
Which is this.
I think you're right. I think everybody, that should be their number one priority, purpose. Mm-hmm. Then what would stem would be passion-wise. Like, what direction do you want to go?
Right.
Where can you make money? Everything else. But I think, I would agree. But I know for a fact there's probably people in this world that listen and aren't being authentically themselves because they are maybe around the wrong people. Mm-hmm. The social media is influencing them.
Too much noise. They can't even hear their own voice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how about this? If you had to stop music today, what would be the next step, do you think? Doesn't have to be guaranteed. What would be?
I don't know. I mean, I've often thought about anything in like psychology, like helping people through their shit, just because I've been in so many dark places and developed so many useful tools to deal with that. And I think a lot of people don't have that. And I'd like to provide those tools to people. So that's why I say I don't know what my purpose is, because music maybe is more fun, but I also feel drawn to that, to like a psychology kind of, I don't know what I would be. I don't want to say psychologist, therapist, life coach. I don't know what it would be, but something along those lines.
Do you like talking?
Love it.
You ever thought about starting a podcast?
I have, but I'm also very obsessed with the surface definition of what cool is, and if everybody's doing it, I don't want to do it, which is a bad thing, because I believe what Joe Rogan says, and he says that there is enough for everyone. 100%. Everyone should start a podcast.
I agree.
But I just constantly hear everybody starting a podcast, and it kind of just makes me like, do I need to just add to the pile?
Take your own advice, remove the noise.
That's a good point.
If you like talking, and if music was to die tomorrow, and you had to like maybe go down that path of helping people, I think a great first step would be to start a podcast.
I think that my issue is I see so many people that are so helpful that I need to be convinced that I can add something uniquely helpful.
Maybe this is it.
I don't want to do it.
Maybe this is the
I don't want to do it because it's fun. I mean, I do want to do it because it's fun, but I want there to be a need
100%
for what I can provide.
Yeah. I'm not saying tomorrow you should start a podcast.
Right.
This is the Mike show. I'm saying you should consider, like, that's an interesting platform. Do I like to talk? Okay, I do like to talk. This would be my platform to, instead of, continue to make music, but that's
no doubt.
It's a completely different lane of communication to people. All right, if I did start a podcast, what's the focus? What's the reason? What's the true vision? What's the why? That's what I'm saying.
No doubt.
Let that stem and just kind of brew that in the back of your mind, because I think, and like I'm saying, I hope that from this podcast, somebody that listens to you because of music DMs you and goes, start the podcast. Then you might see, like, holy shit, there's 500 people. You know, there could be, you never know. I'm just saying, like, maybe that could be the thing of, like, wait, maybe there is some traction to this. And
no doubt.
And maybe that inspires the music a little bit differently, because now you're communicating, you're getting feedback of who Mike is as a person, which then domino effects into music.
Sure. Yeah.
You know? So,
good point. I like that. And by the way, that was not to shit on the fact that you're doing a podcast.
Bro, I've been in it. Been in it since 2016.
Legitimate fan of this podcast.
No, you're fine.
I think the world needs this podcast. So
no, I that did not even cross my mind.
I'm glad,
because I know right now in 2019, that's the whole thing. Everyone's started a podcast, and I'm over here brushing on my shoulders. I'm like, I've been at it since 2016.
Yeah, no doubt.
Get at
and
me.
It shows, man. It shows.
I appreciate
you
that.
Conduct yourself like a professional.
Hey, at the end of the day, that has been my whole thing from the beginning. Is like, treat it like you're at the top. Not to be cool, not to have act like you have millions of plays, but to make sure that it's the most important thing for me by the end of this podcast, when somebody leaves, I want the guests to have felt that was the best hour and a half they could have spent with possible. I don't want somebody to ever leave here and feel like it was a waste of time. No, that's my whole thing. I want this to be valuable to you, number one, and then number two, to whoever listens to it. So I just have always wanted to make sure that, and at least tried my best to make sure it's a conversation that's worthwhile for everybody involved.
And you kill it, man. You do that. And I think that because you have some niche people on here, I think that is great, because like we were talking about, I think those people need to hear what those people have to say. And not only that, those people probably really appreciate this and value this a lot too.
Yeah. It's a win-win-win, as I say, hopefully for everybody involved. Before we get to the closing questions, this is when I reverse the role. I allow the guests to ask me any one question. Could be about something we talked about today, something you want to know.
Fucking
something
prepared,
you already got the question? All right.
It's a two-part question.
All right, fine. Let's get it.
I want to know the first. We're going to start negative and end positive. I want to know, what is your most embarrassing moment starting this podcast, during a podcast, anything that you've gone through, or a moment that you regret? I don't even want to use the word regret, because you don't have to regret it.
I don't regret anything in my life, so you're good.
I kind of saw that coming.
Yeah.
So just like an embarrassing moment.
Regrets.
I'm a huge fan of embarrassing moments, because it puts everybody at a level playing field, and they're hilarious, and it shows humility. So let's start with that. If you can think of one.
Yeah, that's such a tough question.
And maybe you're not a person who gets embarrassed often, but I have a stockpile of these. So.
Embarrassments.
It doesn't even have to be huge. It could just be
Yeah, honestly, one of the most recent ones, because I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't, I know it's not because the camera's on, I really haven't felt embarrassed about any specific moment, because one, I knew from the beginning this is all a learning curve. Right. So it's always been something that's added on. I haven't ever, I've never had a moment where we were recording and then 30 minutes in I go, oh, that wasn't recording, or or oh shit, the camera wasn't on. I've been so anal about everything. So there's never been a moment. The only thing recently,
it can even be funny, just a funny
one. I mean, honestly, recently was episode 121 with Futuristic. He's a hip-hop, pop, R&B artist. I don't even put him in a box. He's a recording artist. And I went into, before the podcast started, I wanted to make, actually when the podcast was starting, God, let me take a second step back.
It's okay, dude.
Before he got here for the podcast, I already thought of I knew going into the podcast, I want to go right into a story of when I met him. And so I'm an idiot. We start up the podcast and I go into the story, but I forgot what I wanted to say, and I just I blanked like that. I just was like, I literally for like 5 seconds, he's just like looking at me, and I was like,
it was like 5 seconds.
I hit pause. I turned off the camera. I said, "My man, I'm so sorry."
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
We're just gonna restart and act like this didn't happen. And so then, honestly, me being an idiot, I'm like, I'm gonna do it again, and I got it. But like,
dude, you still hadn't recovered.
He just is like, I knew within the
you
first.
Were still beating yourself up.
I was like, why did I even try it again? I should have just went right into the podcast.
No.
But I tried.
Kudos for trying again.
I tried to
man.
rebuttal and
try again. You didn't give up.
Yeah, I didn't give up, and then I executed the podcast. But that was one of the recent moments. But other than that, there hasn't been.
That's fine. It doesn't need to be a major fuck up.
Yeah. Like I said, going back to what I was just saying, I've treated this like I'm at the top. I wanted to be very professional, and so I've made sure every single detail is ready to go. And I think the preparation is the only reason I haven't had one of those majors. This isn't recording. The video wasn't on because I'm so anal about the preparation that it's a science to me now.
Right.
It's a math equation.
You're not gonna fuck that
by
up.
the time you sat down today, I already there was all these steps, checklists off of everything, so that by the time you sat down, I knew I was good to go. So there hasn't been anything. That's a good question, though.
Second part, most triumphant moment, like where you were gassed on yourself, where you were just full of like, I'm the shit, I killed it.
Podcast-wise?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's tough.
Take a second. I mean, it's your podcast, but take a second.
The most moment.
Doesn't have to be the most, just one you can remember.
Oh man, I got another thing, dude. Okay. Embarrassment moment.
Yeah.
The biggest podcast in my career at the time, still you could argue was drama. 10 minutes in, electricity went out.
Shut up,
bro. It's on camera, the whole shebang. Literally had to finish the podcast with the blinds down, natural light, the whole shebang, no sign.
Oh no,
embarrassing. Come to find out, there was a car accident that hit a telephone pole. Middle Tuesday
was the camera like blown out or anything? Was it like
no? Because California sun, bless up.
It was fine. It was good.
It was usable. It was very usable,
Gotcha.
but that was embarrassing. Luckily, he
That's
rolled.
Hilarious
he rolled with it. He rolled with it.
He was super cool about it.
He was like, yeah. He's like, yeah. Because before the podcast started, first off, I'm saying like, thank you so much for taking the time to come here before we even started. Just like I recognize like you're a busy person, blah blah blah. And he's like, yo, I like love being part of the ground up type stuff. Like we're not in a fancy studio. We're literally in your bedroom. And then that happened 10 minutes after. And he's like, this is what I'm saying. He's like, I love it. Electricity goes. So he was cool
to his
about
character.
it.
That's cool.
He speaks greatly to his character. Shout out to you, drama. Biggest moment, right? You were saying?
Triumphant.
I'll give you three. I don't want to give one.
Sure.
I'll give you three.
Yeah, give me three.
One was episode 50. It was at the time with this guy named Tyler Babin. He at the time was the personal art director for Gary Vee, and we did that in New York City.
That's right,
in their office. So that was huge for me. Like I'm walking into
that
media. This is like a month before I moved to LA. I'm about to move to LA next month. I'm in Gary Vee's office. I'm interviewing his personal art director. I loved his content.
Making strides.
Huge, big moment. And then episode 71, shout out to my man Jeremiah Davis. He was somebody that when I first got to LA, went to his Snapchat release party. He is the same age as me, and he got into video. He's been in video for years before, like since he was in high school. But long story short, I went down to Venice to do the podcast with him. But it was more of a moment of I'm sitting across from somebody the same age as me. He's a great example that if he's making shit happen for video, I can do it. I mean, I'm talking, this is a kid that by the time we even did that podcast, he had toured the world with Chainsmokers as their personal video guy. He had done all this. He had his own show on Snapchat. He was working directly with like Rory Kramer. He shot drone footage for Jeezy's music video. So that was like a big one after just kind of getting out to LA. And then dramas. That was another like, holy shit, I'm getting one of the biggest inspirations on my podcast. This is amazing.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing. After his podcast rolled out, and the next couple podcasts I had to record was extremely difficult for me.
Why?
Because I had felt like I achieved such a high.
It was a peak, and then you had to,
and now it's just back to like, who's
normal.
Like I knew other guests that I definitely wanted to get on. But when you go from interviewing your number one person of all time that you really want, he wasn't like the number one, but like top 5 at the time. And then the next couple guests are great people. They're passionate. They're killing it in their own lanes. But I don't want to compare, but
I get it.
Different
No,
highs.
I get it.
I'm
Yeah.
like sitting there having these conversations like, wow, last week I just talked to this dude and now I'm back to, so.
That kind of goes back to the whole like kind of like Zen way of being and the whole like monk thing. I'm sure you know this, understand this like mindset, but it's just that like same as don't get wrapped up in the lows, don't get wrapped up in the highs.
Yeah.
Just focus on the process. Just keep going.
Flow like water. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that, yeah. So those have been some of the questions.
Understandably so, man. I was thinking that.
Yeah.
When you brought up drama, I was like, oh, I wonder if like after those ones or after the being at VaynerMedia, you were kind of like, oh.
Yeah. Now the Vayner was right after that. I was coasting still heavy because it was, I think literally 3 weeks later I was moving out to LA. So I was like,
oh word, yeah, that's
came
right.
Off of that
You're
high
still
to, like,
making.
I'm about to like move out to LA
yeah,
now.
doubt,
so
doubt,
it was just
doubt.
like this crazy timing. But those have been some of the big ones. But other than that, I'm extremely proud and appreciative of every single guest that has been on this board. So it's just been it has been an incredible journey. Closing questions. One, where can people find you on social media? That's the most obvious.
Instagram is number one. At the Holdup Music, but also Facebook.com/the Holdup Music, Twitter at the Holdup Music, YouTube.com/the Holdup.
Perfect, nice and easy.
TheHoldupMusic.com.
Oh, that'll all be linked up. Make sure you guys and gals head to any of his socials. Head to Mike's Instagram specifically and do one of two things for me. One, drop a shit ton of Bearded Man emojis on his Instagram post so he knows you came from this podcast. And then two, if you want to see him start a podcast, send him a DM and just say, start the damn pod.
Right.
Short, simple, and sweet. And he'll know that maybe there is an area of interest. Before I ask the last question, thank you for coming in today, man.
Dude,
this has been,
hey, thank you. I had a blast. My first podcast, bro.
I know. I love that.
Amazing.
And this honestly, I get really more hyped for people that are coming in that I've already met before because it kind of skips a whole like, I got to pretty much escalate a relationship in 10 minutes before we fire up the pod. And so just having a couple interactions with you beforehand, I knew this was going to be much more easier than when I bring in a guest for the first time and meeting them. But this has been such a flow conversation. I feel like we've talked about a lot. I appreciate you open up on some serious shit.
Yeah, no doubt. I was nervous for like the first 10 minutes, I think.
Once you get,
and then I noticed I was like,
it's a domino
okay,
effect.
okay,
it just keeps flowing. It keeps flowing. But really just getting to know you on a personal level now. I love the energy. I love your intent and just everything that you represent. And this has been a great podcast, man.
Awesome, man.
I really appreciate it.
I feel the same way. Thank you.
I love it. Last question for you. For somebody that's listening, hasn't found that passion, hasn't found that purpose out just yet, what's the best 2 to 3 pieces of advice you would give to somebody
that hasn't found what they want to do with their life?
Yep. Or it doesn't have a direction, or is graduating college and
I'm going to steal all of these from podcasts that I just recently listened to.
Please.
Okay, well, I would say one of my pieces of advice is listen to this podcast.
Thank you.
Definitely go back through the archives.
Thank you.
I would say also, what you want to do doesn't have to be this perfect culmination of all of the things that you are and all of the things that you love. It just has to be something that you really like doing more than most other things. I think that if you don't immediately feel that passion, as long as you like doing it, keep at it. And the better you get at it, the more passion you will develop for it. And also just keep trying shit. Really just try everything. Just keep trying shit, man. That's the thing. And don't give up so fast unless you obviously hate it. But keep moving. I think that a lot of people get stuck in inertia. They just they're overwhelmed and they're like, well, this isn't my passion right now. It's like, well, fine, just try something else. Keep moving. Just keep, you know what I'm saying? Keep the momentum up. And the other thing I would say is, fuck, man, I don't know. That's really hard.
You dropped a lot of gems.
What's that?
I said you dropped some good gems.
The other one thing that I just heard Jay Shetty say is, what do you love doing? What are you good at? What does the world need? How do you get paid for it? Here's one. I think people too often overlook the fact that their purpose might not exist yet. It might not be a thing that you can look up in the yellow pages. There's no fucking yellow pages anymore. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It might not be a job that exists. You
Yeah.
might have to invent your fucking job. You know how many people did that? Like, there's so many things that we think are normal things that have always been jobs now that people just created.
Yeah.
So consider that.
I love it. Mike Garmany, the Holdup, baby. Thanks for coming on the show, brother.
No doubt. Thank you, man.
We'll catch you guys next time. See ya.